What's up YouTube? This is Power Surge. I want to tell you about the stock market crashing and why I believe 2018 is not going to be the best year for the United States stock market. So today's date is March 22nd, 2018, and we have seen a pretty bad crash in stock prices for today. Seen about 2% drop in all the major indexes, 700 points falling off the Dow Jones. So I wanted to summarize for you why I think the stock market is completely overvalued and very due for a crash or correction. But in my opinion, it is going to have an epic crash this year or sometime very soon. And the reasons I believe the stock market has to crash, I want to start with the big picture and then I'm going to go into the smaller picture, okay, of the things that have happened more recently. But the big picture is that the stock market has just gone up in a straight line since 2009. We had the very near collapse of the financial system in 2008 with our financial crisis, where banks were closing, Bear Stearns collapse. We had the housing market collapse, house prices went down, people lost their homes. Banks were bailed out by the government money that was printed, just given to them, and the government had to do all these crazy things to keep us from failing back then when our debt was much lower than it is now. I believe it was less than 10 trillion. And now our Federal Reserve has basically lowered interest rates all the way to zero for the last couple years. Not only did they do that, but they printed billions of dollars, like 40 billion a month for several months, and trillions of dollars were basically printed in order to buy the crappy mortgage debt from the failed banks and to buy junk bonds, I think. And even recently, the central banks have actually been buying stocks, and this is really twisted. But the low interest rate environment, what it does is it encourages spending, right? It encourages borrowing, because if interest rates are really low, then you can borrow money for a house, right? And then you could buy property, or you can take out credit to fund a business or to get a car. Like, it encourages spending when interest rates are extremely low, like they've been for the last few years. And the economy is basically addicted to this. We can't withstand interest rates going back up anymore. So as soon as interest rates start to rise, like they have been this year, and today, one of the reasons the market fell is because the Fed raised interest rates. The system is dependent now on those low interest rates to keep the stock prices up, because if just the fear of credit shrinking is going to cause the market to crash. So overexpanded credit from the Fed, as well as the Fed basically gobbling up stocks themselves and raising the prices. FANG stocks, Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, the central banks have been buying those, and those stocks alone have made the NASDAQ go up a lot in the last few months. And they have insane purchasing power, but just by the central banks buying those stocks, they've been able to drive up the NASDAQ to levels where it realistically should not be. These are stupid price levels. We have crazy overvalued stocks like Facebook. If you think about it, Facebook has just experienced this major issue where they were selling information or whatever happened with their use of people's personal information to influence the election through the analytic company. Basically, people don't trust Facebook anymore. And I personally don't go through my feed anymore. The only utility Facebook is having is for groups for me and events, but I really despise it. And a lot of people, the overall sentiment of Facebook is going down, and Facebook's price is just stupid high. So there are companies like this. Tesla is another one. Tesla can't turn a profit. Their stock price is mostly based on speculation, and they don't pay a dividend. Like, when you compare it to General Motors, which is $10 a share, it pays a dividend, and they sell way more cars than Tesla and make way more money. Tesla doesn't even profit, and they're having trouble pumping out cars. It's just overvaluations all over the place. So what goes up must come down. It's a law of the universe. And it looks like this is the year when those overvalued things like Facebook and Tesla and these stocks that have been pumped up by the central banks, they've gone up. Looks like now they're going to come down. Another thing you have, I've talked about this before, but aging baby boomers, people pulling their retirements, and a lot of retirement money is in the stock market, right? As well as these older folks that are pulling their retirements, you have younger people and millennials that are not putting it in. Most millennials don't even know anything about the stock market or investing. I'm sorry to say this, but like the majority of them don't. They don't have 401ks or IRAs, or even have interest in speculating in markets like I do. So these kids are not adding to the market. There's no new buyers and there's lots of sellers. Do you understand what I'm saying? People leaving the market and not new young blood coming in. Additionally, you have retail dying. The retail industry dying is going to be a major shift in our culture. It's already really starting to decay bad. We're having Toys R Us completely closed. I see it myself in my own town, which has a lot of economic activity and everything's pretty good here, but there's still shopping centers all over the place that have just empty retail stores, or you can see shopping centers that are waiting to die. I personally used to go to American Apparel once in a while, and I missed out on their going out of business sale because they closed the store in my town, and it's now a drone store. But most retail is going to be going out the window. We're going to see malls close, and we're going to see other big companies close, and even stores like Walmart and Target, they're going to have to shut down some of the stores that don't make them enough money. So that's the big picture of why the stock market really needs to crash. The central banks have pumped it up too much. There's overvalued stuff like Facebook and Tesla. You've got the retail market dying. There's no new people coming in to buy stocks, and you have tons of older folks retiring and pulling their money in the last few months or years and in the future. And on the shorter term spectrum, I want to talk about the trade war, because Donald Trump has kind of initiated a trade war with China, and this is really not helping things. When Donald Trump was running for president, and I don't have a political stance against or for him, okay? But when he was running for president, he claimed that we were going to bring jobs back to America, and then we need to be stricter on China because jobs go to China. So he's implementing trade tariffs on China, and these are not going to make trade easier or better between us and China. So he's bringing in trade tariffs, and basically China is going to strike back at us with other forms of economic warfare. One of them is going to happen this Monday, March 26th, is a crazy important day probably in history. The Chinese government is going to start doing oil futures trading in yuan. This is a direct attack against the petrodollar, and the petrodollar has given United States the reserve currency of the planet for the last 50 some odd years or 40 years. So China selling oil futures in yuan is another way that people can trade for oil without the dollar, and it's going to definitely be seen as an attack, and it's going to hurt the US dollar's value in the long run as more and more countries feel confident creating ways to trade oil without dollars. So I hope you found this video helpful. Don't panic, guys, don't freak out, but I just wanted to let you know the stock market is totally going to crash this year. Please feel free to smash the like button. Go ahead, leave me a comment, tell me if you think I'm totally wrong, or if you have some input on why the market is going to crash or is crashing. Please let me know, and subscribe because I do make videos all the time. And as always, just have a great day.